Hello, back again to do another unboxing and review. Today I have a brand new digital alarm clock to look at. It comes from Sharp, and this clock not only has a jumbo-sized screen, which apparently has each character standing 1.8 inches tall, but it also has a rapid charge 2 amp USB port on the side. Alright, so before we go any further in the review, I thought I'd go ahead and knock out one of the questions that some people might be asking themselves now or typing in the comment section below. It probably goes something like, why is he reviewing just a regular old alarm clock? We have smartphones now. And yes, I'm aware of that. I have smartphones too, quite a few of them. Oh, and tablets and smartwatches, etc. So I understand you can use those devices as your alarm clock, but much like a knife set you might have in your kitchen, there's a benefit of having the knife that you only use for fruit, a knife that you only use to cut steaks or meat such as that. You get the idea. Having a dedicated tool that you only use for a certain thing usually means that tool is still working when you need it next, and you always know where to find it. So, back to this clock here. Alright, so let's take a look around the box. First thing you'll notice is up here at the very top in prime real estate for what you write on a box where, they decided to tell us about how it has this rapid charge 2 amp USB port and this big blue LED display, and how it has a high-low display brightness, so apparently you have at least 2 levels of brightness control on the device. Oh, and that its primary source of power comes from being plugged in. All very helpful information, although I think it's odd they decided to put that at the top while having the brand the brand name way down here in the bottom corner. Alright, now yes, on the top we do have Sharp written pretty big there, but keep in mind this will be the face of the box that faces the potential customers. Alright, moving on. We have here that it charges faster than USB ports because probably something to do with that 2 amps, right? And that's enough, they'll tell you about it again down there, right? Charge your devices. And it looks like we have the charge port here on the right side of the device, and a representation of someone charging their phone. And of course they're going to remind you that the cord in this phone is not included. But more helpful is probably this over here that says that product at 75%. Now it took me a split second to figure out what they're talking about, and I'm going to guess that they're saying that this picture of the item is 75% of the actual item size. Okay, interesting. It's not every day that you'll have them put something like that. But I'll give them credit for being accurate and thorough there. Okay, so there we already saw that. And then on the bottom, it just looks like they're kind of talking about what they already did at the top of the box here. So let's look at the sides. Alright, so there we have. Again, we saw that at the front. Okay, pretty much just reciting what they already said on the front of the box. Oh, but now there's a high and low volume control. Okay, and then on this side it looks like the same that we saw on the other side. Let's go over to the back of the box. I'll just scroll this so you can read it. And there you can see it has battery backup. Excellent. Okay. Of course, those batteries aren't included, but you should be able to find 2 AAAs pretty much anywhere. Alright. Okay. Letting us know where that snooze button is. I'm sure you'd find where that snooze button is in a hurry. Okay, anyway. We get an instruction manual too. That always helps, and it's made in China. Alright. So overall impressions of the packaging. I like it. I appreciate the fact they made such a large image of the item and put it right front and center on the box. Really dominates the whole thing. Can't really miss that. And also I like the fact that they stuck to a particular color scheme. So if you notice here, the 1208, the digits are in this kind of light blue. And you'll notice that every other color either somewhat matches it, like the header and the footer there, or the other colors do not detract from that. So the other colors are white and silver, and there's even some blue down there. Again, nothing really takes your attention away from that big LED display that they're trying to showcase. Now, they did this at a risk. You may say, well, Sharp, maybe this is their logo. It's always in this blue. I don't know. Perhaps it is. But even if that is the case, all this other background here, they could have had more attention-grabbing colors such as reds and yellows and oranges, but they decided not to keep it this kind of cool, clean look. So, I appreciate that they willing to stick to their guns on the vibe they were looking for. Now, there's one thing I will say they kind of messed up on. They did correct it in the back, and that's the fact that nowhere on the front of this box does it say that this thing has battery backup. Now, I point that out because I almost did not buy this because of that. But now we know, because we looked at the back, that there is actually a battery backup. But they could have put that up on the front here instead of talking about the 2 amp USB port, 3+ times. So, anyway, let's get to the unboxing. Alright, so to open it, looks like we have a tab here. Pull this out. At least this box wasn't sealed. Closed, but not sealed. Alright, and then looks like we have some bubble wrap. Item. Instructions. Nothing else. Alright. Alright, so the instructions are a 1-page, about 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It looks like we have kind of a quick start guide here with what button does what. Some things about inserting the backup batteries, some about the alarm function, and then 1-year limited warranty. Other side, some important safety instructions, and then a big part of this side of the page is just taken up with these hazard symbols like warning and whatnot. Okay, let's get to the item. Okay, so it's in this bubble wrap bag. Take that off. Here we have the plug-in with an integrated adapter. It looks like the power cable is fixed to the device. So, okay. Then there is quite a big display there. There's our USB on the side. Get one of those. And on the back, some pretty easy to push buttons. And it looks like we have a few switches here. With each switch has 2 positions. Here's our battery backup. AAA's go in there. It passed QC. Alright. And then looks to be about the speaker there. Yeah, okay, and on top, snooze and dimmer switch. Really couldn't be much bigger than that. Okay. Alright, so as far as the way it stands, it has these legs, much like my gaming monitor. So, and then we look like we have little rubber pads here, 2 of them. Alright, so as you can tell, I got it up and running. I read the directions, I put in the batteries, and I've done actually quite a few tests on this thing. So I'm going to start off by going over what it does well. Don't worry, this is a short list. And what it does well, it's doing it right now. The numbers are easily readable, even from across the room, because they're big and they're bright. Keep in mind, the room I'm in is very bright on its own, so the fact that you're able to see them as clearly as you are, the digits, is a testament to how bright they shine. Okay, now to give you an idea of how big those digits are, this is that pen I did a review on, my previous review. So this is like your pen you'd get to sign your bill at some like fancy restaurant or what. Okay, anyway, so you can see here, that's your pen, you can tell how big those numbers are. Okay, now, since we're talking about brightness, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the lights in here, and we'll go through the 3 different levels of brightness for the main display. And there are 3. I actually thought there might only be 2, but apparently there are 3. So this one, as you may have guessed, this is the high brightness, right? Push the button on the top, we go to the second highest level, so I guess you could say medium, and that's that. And then push it one more time, and then you get the lowest level brightness. Notice here that puddle of blue that was here on the high setting, I'll do it again. You can see how bright it is. So if you have this on a table or something, you're going to have all that reflecting into your eyes, assuming it's on your bedstand or whatever. So you probably would like to do that if you're going to use this to sleep next to. Alright, so with that covered, I'll turn it back up, and I'll put on the main light in the room again. So let's move to the next thing, which would be the USB charger on the side. And you can tell I have this cable coming out of it, and then that's what I use to test. Now I should let you know right now I do have this plugged in. You can see here I have it plugged into the clock is plugged into an extension cord. Alright, I'll kind of go over that in a bit. But right now, let's talk about this. This isn't the OEM or the charger LG supplied when I got my LG V20. And yes, that is the phone I decided to use to test out the whole charging. I mean, it's just a smartphone, but to show you here. So here's the LG V20. Okay, still looking very good. And now I went ahead, since I know I've used it for quite a while, I kind of know about how this battery and its life and all that stuff. So that's why I used it as a test mule for this. Now I'm going to hold up my results I got. Alright, so here's all my data, and also I have my calculations on here. So we're not going to go too much in depth of this. I'll just give you the short and skinny on it. So I did 3 runs. The first run here, I wasn't being super detailed. All I did is just let the phone charge for about 2 hours, and that's how much charge it replaced in my battery on my phone. So doing simple math, you're looking at, a little over 1,000 milliamps per hour that way. Decided to be a little more detailed, and I recorded the battery in the phone's charge level and at what time. And you can see here, so for those 18 minutes, it jumped up in charge by 13% of the overall battery capacity, which happens to be 3,200 in the LG V20. So all this comes down to basically it was charging at 1,300, almost 1,400 milliamps per hour. Then I did one more run, taking the battery from 75 to 100% or a fully charged smartphone, and that ended up charging at a rate, and there you can see it, just a little over 1,000 milliamps per hour. Now keep in mind, on this phone I had it Wi-Fi turned off and location turned off, and I even pulled out the SIM card so it's not trying to connect to the tower. And but I did leave the phone on. Yes, the screen goes to sleep, but the phone was still actually on. Now, this phone does come with quick charge. I think it's Qualcomm 3.0 quick charge or whatever. This did not initiate that. So whatever's coming out of this, it's not enough to trigger fast charge on this phone. Okay, so you can see I have it plugged in, and now I'm going to show you what happens if it gets unplugged. So this will represent like a power failure. Maybe there's a thunderstorm or something, right? Your power goes out. And this is what's going to happen to, yep, there it goes. So you can see that even with, and by the way, there are the 2 AAA batteries are put in this, right? So it looks like it's not working. In actuality, the clock is still keeping track of time. It just does not display the digits. So plug it back in, and you're going to see, yes, it goes back to the time. Now, I did check this by leaving it unplugged for like 5 minutes, and when I plugged it back in, the correct time shows up. So it does keep track of time. Now, I don't know why it doesn't keep the display running, so you won't have a clock, or at least you won't be able to know what time it is when the power is out. I don't get that. Why not have it maybe go to like the default lowest brightness, like that, right? And then at least keep the clock on so you can see it. Okay, but one thing it does do, even if it's off, like you saw, and it's keeping track of time, but you can't see the numbers, if your alarm is set to go off during that time when the power's out, the alarm still does sound. Okay, so it does that. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the alarm. The alarm is actually really weak, and let's go to that now. Alright, so I have it set, the alarm to go off. You can see the little thing that says alarm there. It's going to go off like any moment. Alright. So just so you know, that was set on the high volume. Now I don't know about you, but that wouldn't get me up. So, alright, so now that we've covered the functionality, whether it was great or not, that's that. So now let's talk about overall quality of this, like kind of how it is to live with. Okay, first let's talk about the materials here. Everything on this is plastic, and if you come over here to the back, you see these fins which account for like the back stand, right? Look, listen to this. So you see that bending there? This whole thing is constructed of this plastic, which I think, especially with these, I could break by just squeezing these hard enough with my thumb and my pointer finger. So it doesn't feel high quality. It actually feels quite cheap. I'm just going to be honest with you. The buttons on the back also feel cheap. And on top of all that, let's talk about the stand. Here's the stand that I showed you before, and yeah, it does look like a stand like for my gaming monitor. But something that it failed to do is, if you look, I'm going to kind of hold it so you're looking top down. You see how much those little feet do not stick out from underneath? I mean, they just barely poke out. What does that translate into? I'll show you. Using my pinky finger, if I just touch this thing, it does that all the time. So now imagine you're tired and you're reaching to hit the snooze button. You're going to probably land your hand on here, bring this whole thing down, and crack the display. So that's just poor design. I'm sorry. This would not have been hard. Have these stick out further forward or what, or make them stick out further and maybe wider. But yeah, that's just fail. I don't know how else to say it. Now. Okay, so it doesn't feel high quality. I don't give this many weeks before the screen's cracked because of what I just explained. The alarm, whether you set it to low or high, it doesn't matter, and in either case, it's hardly enough to get you up unless you sleep listening for an alarm. But if you don't do that, you're probably going to oversleep. So that pretty much covers that, and the charge isn't anything phenomenal. Yeah, it charges my phone, but yeah, nothing to write home about on that. So now I'm extra disappointed in this unit because this isn't my first clock from Sharp. I'm going to show you the alarm clock that I'm using right now. Definitely isn't this. And here it is. This little guy. Yes, see, made by Sharp. Now, unlike this one it functions really well. It has extra features. So this, you can see here, it has temperature, and you can get two different temperatures. One for the room temperature, so it's 74 in here right now. And then this one here, you have a remote little sensor that you can put outside even, and it'll tell you the temperature wherever that little sensor is. Right now I'm changing the batteries in it. I had to bring it in from outside. That's why you just see lines. Okay, and you have two alarms, so you can have alarm 1 and alarm 2, right? And then you have, pretty easy to read time, and then you also have the date. Okay, and yes, it has a backlight, as you may expect. This little thing has worked phenomenal. I've had no problems with it, and yeah, and isn't kind of interesting? Look at that. I mean, same company, kind of same idea and design. This great, and I just gotta say the plastic here. Yes, this one's also all plastic, but the plastic feels nice and polished and smooth, as where this feels very cheap. And like I said, I could probably just push it hard enough and crack it. So yeah. Now let's get to the conclusion here. Would I recommend this? No. And a part of it's, well, all the things I already mentioned, plus the price. At $25, I expect more than this, especially since I know they can make something for just not a few dollars more, but yet so much better. This is actually a disappointment. I liked the way it looked, but no.